Tonight, breaking news just in. The new statement tonight from former star NFL quarterback Mark Sanchez. Authorities say he will now face a felony charge after an alleged altercation. What Mark Sanchez said just moments ago, tonight the allegations against him. Sanchez arrested in his hospital bed after an altercation with a 69-year-old delivery truck driver. Tonight here, the surveillance images showing him appearing to stumble just after the incident. Also tonight, the government shutdown now entering its second week. Millions of Americans affected. And tonight, the Transportation Secretary now sounding the alarm about air traffic controllers. Some calling in. He said the workers patrolling our airspace are asking, how am I going to pay my mortgage? Tonight, no sign Republicans and Democrats are any closer to any compromise, while members of Congress are still getting paid. Tonight, the showdown over President Trump's move to deploy the National Guard to more American cities. Hundreds of Texas National Guardsmen heading to Chicago. Tonight, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker calling the potential deployment Trump's invasion. And the Trump-appointed judge who says what they're saying, their reason for sending the Guard into Portland, is, quote, simply untethered to the facts. Tonight, news of the Jeffrey Epstein case. Ghislaine Maxwell's attempt at an appeal to get her conviction overturned. The Supreme Court refusing to take up the case. And President Trump just moments ago when asked if he would pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. Tonight, the judge's home up in flames. 3 people hurt inside, what authorities have just revealed about the cause. The talks underway over this potential peace plan for Israel and Hamas and to get the hostages out. What President Trump said late today about these critical talks right now. The rescue underway at this hour. 1,000 hikers trapped in a snowstorm on Mount Everest. Back in the U.S. tonight, the record heat across the Midwest and the Northeast. And now the big change coming. Ginger Z is here. The shocking images tonight, the Americans among a group of tourists charged by an elephant while on safari, capsizing their boat. Tonight, amid so much confusion, should you get the COVID shot? The new vaccine guidance from the CDC, what officials are now recommending. And Taylor Swift making history with her album and movie this weekend, the first ever to reach #1 in both categories on the same weekend. And tonight, the new interview right here, the question she called shockingly offensive.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a very busy Monday night. We do begin tonight with the breaking news. The new statement in just moments ago from the family of former NFL star quarterback Mark Sanchez. It comes after his arrest in his hospital bed following an alleged physical altercation with a delivery truck driver. The 38-year-old former NFL star and Fox analyst seen here bloodied in surveillance video obtained by the New York Post, appearing to stumble, now facing a felony charge in an alleged altercation with a 69-year-old truck driver. Police say Sanchez approached the driver just after midnight over where he was parked. Authorities say both men were badly hurt and that Sanchez was stabbed in the altercation. Tonight, Sanchez's family saying he remains under medical care for his injuries. And this evening, the images of the delivery truck driver, who is also in the hospital tonight. ABC's Matt Rivers leading us off in a warning here. Some of the images are disturbing.
Tonight, the former NFL quarterback who nearly led the New York Jets to the Super Bowl is facing a felony charge after a bloody dispute allegedly over parking.
We're lucky that no one's dead right now as a result of this incident.
Mark Sanchez, now a Fox Sports analyst, seen here bloodied in surveillance video obtained by the New York Post, showing the former NFL star clutching his chest, stumbling through downtown Indianapolis moments after an altercation left him in critical condition with multiple stab wounds. Shortly after 12:30 a.m. Saturday night, police say the 38-year-old Sanchez approached Perry Toll, a 69-year-old delivery truck driver in the middle of his shift, about where the victim parked. Toll, who says Sanchez smelled of alcohol, alleges Sanchez shoved him and prevented him from calling for help. Toll telling police he feared he was in physical danger, pepper spraying Sanchez in the face. According to police, when the former quarterback advanced again, Toll thought, "This guy is trying to kill me," and stabbed Sanchez multiple times. Toll suffering a severe laceration to the side of his face. You can see his injuries in this hospital photo obtained by ABC affiliate WRTV. Sanchez telling investigators he did not know who did this to him or where it happened. And tonight, in a statement in part, this is a deeply distressing time. Mark remains under medical care and is focused on recovery and the legal process.
Mark Sanchez was involved in an incident that, to be honest, we're all still trying to wrap our heads around.
Sanchez charged with felony battery, public intoxication, and unlawful entry of a motor vehicle.
If you come into our city commit violence, we will use all the tools at our disposal to hold you accountable.
David Sanchez posted bond, prosecutors choosing to upgrade that battery charge after reviewing surveillance video, witness statements, and the extent of the victim's medical condition. As for that felony charge, if convicted, it carries a sentence of 1 to 6 years. David?
Matt Rivers tonight on that statement just in from the Sanchez family. Matt, thank you. Now to the government shutdown tonight, entering its second week. Millions of Americans already affected. And this evening, the Transportation Secretary now sounding the alarm about air traffic controllers, saying some are calling out sick. The Secretary saying the workers patrolling our airspace are asking, how am I going to pay my mortgage? Tonight, no sign Republicans and Democrats are any closer to any compromise, while members of Congress are still getting paid. Jay O'Brien on the Hill tonight.
Tonight, as the government shutdown drags into its 6th day, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy sounding the alarm, saying as air traffic controllers worry about when they'll next get paid, the department is now seeing a slight uptick in sick calls around the country.
What they think about as they're controlling our airspace is, how am I going to pay my mortgage? How do I make my car payment?
Trump presided over the longest government shutdown in American history in his first term, 35 days. And now Democrats are refusing to fund the government unless Republicans agree to repeal Medicaid cuts and extend health care subsidies to prevent insurance premiums from rising for millions of Americans. Republicans won't budge. The House isn't even in session this week, though members of Congress are still collecting their paychecks. The Democratic leader saying it's on Trump to break the logjam.
He's in charge. His party holds majorities across the government. So Americans naturally and correctly believe the burden is on him to fix this mess.
President Trump tonight implying negotiations are underway.
We have a negotiation going on right now with the Democrats that could lead to very good things.
But tonight, Schumer denying any talks, saying Trump's claim isn't true. But if he's finally ready to work with Democrats, we'll be at the table.
David, tonight some 4 million federal workers left wondering when they'll get their next paycheck and if they'll still have their jobs. President Trump has repeatedly threatened mass firings across the federal government the longer this shutdown drags on, but they haven't started yet. David.
Jay O'Brien live up on the Hill for us. Jay, thanks. Tonight, the showdown over President Trump's move to deploy the National Guard to more American cities. Hundreds of Texas National Guardsmen heading to Chicago. Tonight, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker calling the potential deployment Trump's invasion. And the Trump-appointed judge who says the Trump administration's explanation for sending the Guard into Portland is simply, quote, untethered to the facts. Here's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, on President Trump's orders, a plane carrying 200 National Guard soldiers now heading from Texas to Chicago against the wishes of the city's mayor and the governor of Illinois.
Let me be clear. Donald Trump is using our service members as political props and as pawns in his illegal effort to militarize our nation's cities.
The president calls it a necessary part of his crime crackdown. But Governor J.B. Pritzker, who was fighting back in court, calls it an unconstitutional invasion of the state of Illinois.
Trump and the thuggery that his agents have brought has actively made us less safe.
The president tonight says that's just not true.
It's like a war zone. And then I listen to the governor and the mayor get up and say how they have it under control. They don't.
Just last week at Quantico, in front of hundreds of military leaders, the president saying America's cities could be training grounds for troops. They've been patrolling Washington, D.C. for weeks, with President Trump now planning to put them to use in Chicago, Memphis, and Portland, Oregon, where 200 soldiers from California arrived last night.
I believe that the Portland people are scared. You look at what's happened with Portland over the years. It's a burning hellhole.
But over the weekend, a judge President Trump appointed himself says when it comes to Portland, the president's assessment is, quote, simply untethered to the facts, blocking the deployment of the Guard in the city. The president has focused on a group of protesters that have camped outside an ICE facility in Portland. But Judge Karen Emmergut says those protesters are not significantly violent or disruptive, adding, this is a nation of constitutional law, not martial law. Portland Police Chief Bob Day telling our Trevor Ault the protests are confined to a sliver of the city.
It is a city block in a beautiful city that's 145 square miles, so it is fairly contained, but there are some challenges mitigating it down there.
But it is basically contained in a single city block?
Yes, it's just one city block.
David, tonight, as these legal battles play out in both Portland and Chicago, President Trump says he's considering invoking the Insurrection Act, using emergency powers that would allow him to go around the courts to deploy the National Guard to both of those cities, David.
Rachel Scott live at the White House tonight. Rachel, thank you. We turn tonight to the Jeffrey Epstein case, the Supreme Court refusing to hear Ghislaine Maxwell's attempt at an appeal to get her conviction overturned. And late today, what President Trump said about the possibility of pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell. Here's Pierre Thomas tonight.
Tonight, the Supreme Court declining to hear an appeal from Jeffrey Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell to overturn her conviction for sex trafficking minors. The ruling praised by the family of one of Epstein's victims who died by suicide, Virginia Giuffre. We are committed to ensuring that convicted child sex trafficker Maxwell serves out the entirety of her 20-year sentence in prison, where she belongs. Maxwell's team had argued her conviction should be overturned because of an agreement Epstein made before his death with prosecutors not to go after his co-conspirators. Maxwell has long claimed she is innocent, just weeks ago making the case to Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who interviewed her about Epstein's alleged client list.
I did introduce him to women. I did, but not underage women.
Tonight, her attorney says despite today's ruling, this fight isn't over. And the president late today would not rule out a pardon.
I'm going to have to take a look at it. I have to ask DOJ. I didn't know they rejected it. I didn't know she was even asking for it, frankly.
It comes as the push for a full release of the Epstein files is stalled because of the government shutdown. A newly elected Democrat from Arizona, Adelita Grijalva, would be the final signature needed to force a House floor vote on the release of the Epstein files. But Republicans have chosen to keep the House out of session, delaying her swearing in.
Here I am, 10 days out, still waiting. A lot of talk about me being the 218th signer for the discharge petition for the Epstein files, which I will do as soon as I'm sworn in. The timing is very suspect.
It's possible for members of Congress to be sworn in during a government shutdown, but so far Republicans have refused to allow it. And now that the Supreme Court has ruled, the House Oversight Committee is expected to reschedule a deposition with Maxwell. David?
Pierre Thomas in Washington. Pierre, thank you. Tonight we have just learned what authorities are now indicating after that massive fire destroyed a judge's home. 3 people inside were hurt, and what authorities are now saying just moments ago. Here's our chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katersky.
Tonight, authorities have just revealed this inferno at the waterfront home of a South Carolina judge appears to be an accident.
You can hear the thing burning.
There were fears Judge Diane Goodstein was targeted because of her rulings from the bench. South Carolina's chief judge even asking for extra security. But investigators now say at this time there is no evidence to indicate the fire was intentionally set. Video shows Goodstein's Edisto Island home fully engulfed.
We have a 3-story elevated structure fully engulfed.
Black plumes seen billowing along the shoreline.
Be advised that Edisto Beach has a structure fire with entrapments.
At the time, the judge was walking on the beach, but her husband and 2 others had to escape the fire by jumping into the marsh, rescuers reaching them by kayak. Goodstein's husband, a former state senator, airlifted to the hospital. The investigation into the fire is ongoing, David, but tonight it looks more accident than arson. David?
Aaron Katersky with us. Aaron, thank you. Overseas tonight, the critical talks now underway in Egypt on President Trump's plan for peace between Israel and Hamas and to get the remaining hostages out. Late today, President Trump on these high-stakes talks.
I really think we're going to have a deal. We have a really good chance of making a deal, and it'll be a lasting deal. We want to have peace. This is beyond Gaza. Gaza is a big deal, but this is really peace in the Middle East.
So let's get right to our chief foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell, with us live in Tel Aviv tonight. And Ian, the fact that both sides have gotten even this far with pressure from President Trump is quite significant.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, make no mistake, President Trump applying real pressure on Prime Minister Netanyahu to agree to this deal. And it really does feel like a potentially game-changing moment. You've got these indirect talks now underway in Egypt. Phase 1, the president hopes could be agreed as early as this week, would mean a ceasefire, the release of hostages and some Palestinian prisoners, and a partial withdrawal of Israeli troops. The key sticking point is going to be Phase 2, which calls for Hamas to disarm and relinquish power. But I think what's really different this time is President Trump's personal engagement, forcing both sides to end this war. David?
You'll stay on this, of course, Ian Panel in the region for us. Thank you. Now to the massive rescue operation on Mount Everest tonight. Rescuers are racing to reach hundreds of hikers still stranded after a blizzard slammed the region. At one point, up to 1,000 people were stranded. According to state media tonight, rescue teams and hundreds of villagers have helped get 350 of those hikers down. Many more remain. When we come back tonight, Ginger Z is standing by for us. The record heat from the Midwest to the Northeast. But there is a big change coming, so Ginger has the forecast in a moment. Plus, with so much confusion over the COVID shot this year, the new vaccine guidance tonight from the CDC, what officials are now saying about this fall. And then the scare tonight. Look at this. The Americans among a group of tourists charged by this elephant on safari. Where this played out in a moment here. You don't need me to tell you tonight, record heat from the Midwest to the Northeast, temperatures well above normal for October. But there's a big change coming, so let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z with us here on a Monday night. Hi, Ginger.
Hi, David. Holton, Maine made it to a high temperature today of 84, not just breaking a daily record, but an all-time October hottest temperature on record. They weren't alone. Caribou did it today. Burlington did it over the weekend, as did Traverse City, Michigan, tying theirs just short of 90. Now, we're going to have one more day with temperatures 10 to 20 degrees above average in the Northeast, from Roanoke all the way up into Portland and Holton again. But then, reality check. We drop off by 20 degrees from Monday to Wednesday in Detroit and Indianapolis. It's Tuesday to Thursday where you shave off the 20 degrees, Burlington or New York City. Philadelphia, you'll fall too. And a quick check at that area of interest in the Atlantic. Next name is Jerry, and the good news is the Eastern Caribbean has to watch carefully, but then we turn it out to sea, David.
That familiar track. Ginger Z with us. A beautiful shot there behind you, Ginger. Thank you. When we come back tonight, amid so much confusion, what the CDC is now saying tonight about getting the COVID shot this fall. Plus Taylor Swift tonight, the history she made this weekend, and now the new interview, the question she called shockingly offensive. To the index of other news on this Monday night, to the confusion over getting a COVID shot this year, the CDC is now urging what they're calling, quote, individual-based decision-making, pushing people to consult with their doctor or pharmacist before getting the vaccine. The CDC also saying for those who want the shot, saying the strongest risk-benefit, in their words, for people at high risk for severe COVID includes those over 65. Most insurance still covers the cost of COVID shots. Tonight, a safari taking a frightening turn when an elephant goes on the attack. We now have the video. The group of tourists from the U.S. and U.K., look at this, recording the encounter as the elephant charges at their canoes in those shallow waters in Botswana, flipping over the boats, the guides and their riders escaping, the elephant eventually backing off. That's quite something. When we come back here tonight, Taylor Swift, what she pulled off this weekend, it's quite something. And tonight, the new interview, the question she called shockingly offensive. Finally tonight here, Taylor Swift breaking records and making it clear she's not done. Tonight, Taylor Swift making history and breaking global records with her new album, The Life of a Showgirl. And tonight, she's also addressing the growing fan theory that this might be her last album.
I heard you calling on the megaphone. You wanna see me all alone.
Releasing this new music video over the weekend for her first single, The Fate of Ophelia.
Save my heart from the fate of Ophelia.
And this moment in the video, Taylor Swift catching a football, obviously referencing her new fiancé, Kansas City football star Travis Kelce. And tonight here, the new interview, Taylor Swift shooting down the theory that this could be her last album because she's getting married, calling that thought shockingly offensive.
Taylor, don't tell me this is your last album.
No, what? No.
I just saw some fans going, well, she's going to get married, and then she's going to have children, and then it's going to be the last album.
A shockingly offensive thing to say.
Absolutely. It is not the last album.
It's not why people get married.
No, exactly.
So that they can quit their job.
Right.
Tonight, Taylor Swift showing no signs of stopping. Her first single breaking Spotify's record for the most streamed song ever in a single day. Her album now the most streamed this year on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. And her film this weekend about the album debuting at #1 at the box office. She's now the first person ever to have a #1 album and #1 movie on the same weekend. Tonight, Taylor Swift celebrating her 12th studio album and vowing there is much more to come. She's a force. Good night.
David Muir, the most watched newscast in America. And now,
ABC's World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the third year in a row.